When I'm talking about self-mastery, do you guys even know what I'm saying? Like, I'm explaining self-knowledge to you. Most of the reason that you guys don't act in congruency with what you don't even know what you want, right? And you don't really know the the mild personality kind of types that you have. I don't think you need to Myers-Briggs this shit. I don't think you need to use a fucking multiple choice or any of that bullshit. I think that authoring is a great way to do it. I think Jordan Peterson's self-authoring suite is probably, your best bet. But do you get what I'm saying about understand your own shit? You guys are so fucking goddamn unaware of your own shit. Like, I know things about me, right? One of my bad habits in general is like overthinking, overanalyzing, having a hard time kind of turning things off. I get a little intense, I guess what people would call me, almost to the level of obsession about certain things. And I know that about me. What does that mean? That means I can harness the powers of obsessive, tendencies to get a lot of things done. I can be very passionate. I can crush it in a project if I really put my mind to it, right? But it also means that, like, when I'm at my home in my home life, I'm one of those people that has a tendency of like, oh, one thing needs to be done at the house, right? And then all of a sudden I'm like organizing the underneath sides of fucking cabinets. And that's when I have to notice that, like, hey, am I fixating, right? Like, I'm a busybody. I'm not lazy. See, some of you are going to be on the other end of that spectrum, right? You're going to be fucking lazy. And it's going to be like needing to get yourself up. Oh, I'm being lethargic again. I'm just sitting here. I need to do something. And that's going to be you pushing yourself more towards the middle. And then I need to calm myself down every now and again because I'll miss the moments of my life where I'm trying to do too much instead of just be present, right? But you have to understand that about yourself. One of the ways that manifests itself in my own habit building, just so you guys know, one of my pitfalls is like I'm that overachiever, right? So I'll start my New Year's resolution and it'll be, if you let me really work on it for 5 days, I probably would make my goals list for next year be like 98 things, and it wouldn't even be realistic. It just would be so many things that I was going to budget in that you'd literally look at it and you'd say, well, that would take 48 hours every day to do. It's just not possible. It's actually like you are, limited by time. You're limited by time and physical energy. Those are the two limits that you definitely have, So that's what I mean by understanding yourself. You see how I just spoke about that? It sounds really like I've thought about it. You guys really shouldn't need a therapist just to do the basics of introspection. You really shouldn't. It's not that hard to learn. What makes you you? Look at other people and go, oh, that person has this tendency, and then start to put them on spectrums and see where you land. Do you land in the middle or off to some sort of side? I don't believe in testing for it. I think that's a fucking farce. I don't think that you answer those accurately. I think that you can only learn that in the applicable field of life. I think that that's why philosophy reigns supreme, to be honest. The only place that you can really test that and get proper feedback is properly applying and then introspection of, oh yeah, these things happen in me across the course of time. I don't think you answer those things accurately necessarily. So I think writing about it's a little bit better, journaling, and just do life, journal, scribe, read, digest, think about, reflect, go back. That's kind of like the pattern. So just understand that. Start to know yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, start to know yourself. Are you lazy? Or are you a busybody? Are you an overthinker and a fixator? Or are you someone that's a little bit more like, serene and at peace already with your own self? And maybe almost tends to lead into that like listless, driftless, like no purpose type thing. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with either of them. If you listen to all of my message, it's all the same. Those things are fine. Once you analyze them, you can make them great. They're already okay. It's okay that you have people of both ends of every spectrum. That's what makes life beautiful, the difference, right? But it's pushing these things closer towards the middle is how you harness them and turn them even more beautiful. And you can actually start to showcase and shine them on the rest of the world. You can be that kind of beacon of light and positivity because now you understand self. And that's when you start to connect with everyone. Something that I think is slept on in the personal development world is the spiritual aspect. And when you listen to me talk about spiritual, I'm not going to spit the same exact religious philosophy at you. I'm not just going to say you have to have faith in Jesus. I think that's great if you have that specific belief. I really do. I just like to pull bits and pieces from everywhere and kind of like, you know, I guess the criticism of it is eat from the spiritual buffet. But what I've found is that if I strip away the formality of spirituality, that I get to the root of it, and that the root of it is very simple. It's just connection. And connection, again, as you hear all my message, it starts with connecting to self and understanding self. Because when I understand self and I feel connected to self, I feel grounded within my own soul, it means that I'm being real and I'm being me with the people that I come in contact with. So it makes all of that spiritual, what people call divine oneness, what I think that people quantify as God, is that connection that you're missing when you can't fully accept, forgive, understand, and start to commit to self, making a commitment to the understanding of it, not the commitment to self-exploration, like your fucking, you know, shitty desire to just do whatever you want, but understanding self. The reason I talk personal development is because I think that that hard shit that you do, that's what leads into spiritual connection. I think that's when you hear the spirits the most. I think it's when you hear your own soul. I think it's when you connect to infinite intelligence and divine oneness. It's why I get up early. It's why the first thing I do is meditate, not exercise. That's something that a lot of people don't do. I like that because it puts a pause in my morning and it makes me reflect and try to be present instead of just doing. Again, see, for me, I'm a busybody, right? So the tendency for me is to go too hard, get burnout, not really have good self-talk at some point, and honestly to get so stuck into the tasking part that I'm like not as present for them as I probably should be. When I meditate in the morning, it's a reminder and an intentional setting of the day that like, I know that those are my things. I know that I need to be present because getting to the fucking end of the day and the end of the goal is just one less day that I have to live life. That's why my first intention setting thing is about death. Memento mori, I'm going to die one day. I want to experience every piece of this while I'm here. This is all amazing when you think about not having it. When you think about not having that cup of coffee, it's fantastic. When you think about not having one more moment with your kids, it's fantastic to have those moments. So that's one of the intention setting things I have. That also reminds me that I'm not racing anywhere. It should be cool where everything is now, right? Everything's already beautiful and great. Doesn't mean that I'm not progressing towards the future. But when you start to get into a lifestyle where you kind of want more and more and you want to push yourself, you have that tendency to tip over that edge, go into a piece of extremism. And if that's you, if you are the extremism person, if you're obsessed, you're probably not watching this because you're probably in the fucking Olympics. Big ups to you. Just remember, sometimes even for you, high achievers, you fucking dipshits, you need to learn from the other people in your life. See, I don't have like I have an amazing kid. I don't have a wife. I don't have a spouse. I envy that shit in people. I envy it in people that have like a dope family where they get along and they're quirky and neurotic, but they deal with each other and they've stayed together and they've stuck it out. That's like so amazing. So you probably already have a thing that I fucking like pine for. I have abs. You know, some people want that shit. I understand. I get that. They're fucking cool. Everyone wants all the stuff. But it doesn't mean that everything you have isn't already amazing. You're just trying to make it slightly better. So don't get caught up in this thing of like never being satisfied either. I'm satisfied constantly. I'm satisfied to where I got from 5 years ago. I don't get fucked up on alcohol all the time anymore. I'm not a shithead to people constantly. I put some positivity into some shit. I have an amazing, beautiful boy who's sharp and awesome and just fun and funny and so dope. So I'm already like have so much more than I could ever ask for, right? And you have to remember that that's all around you all the time. Everything is already magic if you choose to see it in the right light, right? That just doesn't mean that you don't work towards the better, brighter future that will also be the tough, positive, personal journey that you're going to go on that will shape you into the individual that you want to be. So understand yourself. Start to listen to you more. Listen to people that inspire you. There's two types of mentors you could have. You have a mentor, somebody you hear and go, wow, I wish I could speak like that, talk like, sound like that. It's so cool, the stuff that person does. That's called a mentor. That's someone you admire, right? They will show you a pathway, not exactly where to go, but they'll kind of show you some sort of steps that will be leading you towards greatness like they have, right? Then you have the anti-mentor. Look at people's lives that are horrifying to you. I do that constantly. I go, damn, that motherfucker's 58. I hope I'm not doing those things by 58. When I see people that are still drinking at 51, my heart goes out so hard. I'm like, dude, you're still fucking partying, and like, it makes me so sad. So that's an anti-mentor for me, right? So I'm going to choose not to do any of the things that person does that got them in that situation. I'm not going to do any of that. So you can use both. Understand self. Use both those tools. That might be kind of what I want to be like. That's like definitely not what I want to be like. Those things, those are examples of your path. Those things speak to you. Don't quiet the universe. The universe is telling you all the secrets that you need. All of it's stuff that's related directly to your emotional intelligence. The spiritual world does not speak in the language that you do. Does that make sense? If it did, it wouldn't be able to speak to everyone. It wouldn't know every language. The spiritual language is emotion. Conjures up emotions. Those are supposed to be, hey, pay attention, check engine light, something's happening. Are you going to listen or not? When you humble yourself and you become, very open to the idea of putting yourself aside and just listening to what the universe has to show you, you start to get all the answers. If you don't, you'll get more and more out of touch. You'll have more and more neurotic problems. You'll bring more and more chaos into your life. You'll attract it. Understand yourself. Understand yourself. Then you can understand everybody else better. You can give them you a little bit more authentically and genuinely. And that should raise the frequency and energy that you're putting on everyone. So just do all those things. Know your little quirks. Start to analyze. Be introspective. That's why journaling is so important. You're going out into life. You come back home. You are sitting with your journal. And it's kind of your cue to analyze what you did that day. See, a lot of you guys don't do that at all. And what that means is you're not learning. And if you're not learning, you're not changing and growing. And when you're not changing and growing, you're getting stuck in these pockets of life, right? You're not making the progress that you're supposed to. That's going to develop as all these weird neuroses. It just is. It's going to conjure up more and more insecurities and inadequacies. You're going to feel more and more out of alignment with where you're supposed to be and where you are. And all these things are going to start to kind of feel strained. And that's where you don't want to be. That's where all of these fucking, self-proclaimed ailments come from. And don't get it twisted. That is the truth. So understand self so you can connect to everybody else. If you can connect to everybody else, you'll never be lonely a day in your fucking life. There will be no such thing as depression created by loneliness. You're not loving you. Therefore, you're not loving everybody else. Pushing people away, becoming distant, becoming avoidant, being isolated. That's all ego. So just remember, love self, do these things. The personal development shit is because you're fucking worth it. And that sounds like shit talk all the time, but it's because you're worth it. Your life is worth that. The people around you are definitely worth it. Commit. Don't be a fucking selfish fuck. When you're being a slovenly, fucking slothy, lazy piece of shit, when you're being hedonic and a fucking whore and you have no morals and you're not nice to people and you put negativity out there, when you're doing all that, you're being a demon. And nobody deserves that from you, and you don't deserve that either. And what you bring upon yourself is this isolated, lonely despair. and you're attracting that to yourself. So you're getting, your comeuppance. And I'm sorry to say that. A lot of you guys need to hear that. Most of your lives suck because you do. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. I was like that. When I was being an asshole, when I was an alcoholic, my life sucked. All I fucking got was negativity. It was everything I deserved. And it was the universe trying to tell me, yo, are you going to listen? Are you going to get back over onto the side of light where you're supposed to be? Or are you going to keep fucking digging a hole and trying to wonder why you're down so far? You're the one digging. So just get that. Understand self, and then you can start to connect to everybody else.